If you clicked on this video, you want to get into Kamen Rider but don't know how to. Well, allow me, the Kamen Rider expert, to guide you through these times. First of all, what is Kamen Rider? Kamen Rider is a tokusatsu show. Tokusatsu is a Japanese live-action media format which uses a lot of special effects or CGI in these modern days. There are a wide variety of tokusatsu shows like Ultraman, which is about a guy that turns into a giant and fights kaijus, or Super Sentai, which is about colorful team of heroes, or even Metal Heroes, which is whatever it wants to be at times. Kamen Rider is a very iconic show and it is distinct and different from the others, and it is noticeable by its bug eyes, and they are somehow connected to the villains. They use the belt to henshin or transform, and their finisher is usually a rider kick. And of course, they ride their own designed bikes because they're Kamen Rider, not Kamen Walker. I'll say myself out. Also, a very important note is that each and every Kamen Rider season might have multiple Kamen Riders other than the titular protagonist. And most of these could be anti-heroes or even straight up villains. Like this guy, he's a serial killer with the power of a Kamen Rider, and it's pretty terrifying. Kamen Rider has 3 eras, which is actually based on Japan's monarchy system and their emperors. The Showa era, which is the earliest era, started with the first Kamen Rider season in that era. After 11 years of no seasons, Kamen Rider returned in the Heisei era with Kamen Rider Kuga in the year 2000 and has been going on ever since. In the year 2019, a new emperor took the throne and he named the era Reiwa, and there have been 7 seasons until now in this era. So now comes the question, where do I start? Well, allow me to tell you that you can literally start anywhere. One of the positives about Kamen Rider is that it's very seasonal. Each and every season is a standalone story with a new protagonist and new amount of characters. Every season has different themes. Like some might be based on magic, some might be based on science, some might be based on snacks for some reason, some might be about battle royals, some might be about alchemy. The choice is yours. Almost everything is standalone except these 2 anniversary seasons where we have crossovers with other Kamen Riders. The best way to choose something is just start with whatever you think looks cool to you, because everybody has different tastes. But let me warn you that looks can be extremely deceiving in Kamen Rider. Like for example, this is a samurai based on an orange. This is another rider from the same season who is based on a banana. Pretty funny, right? And this is one of the darkest pieces of fictional media that I've ever witnessed. And there's a saying in the Kamen Rider fandom that the goofier a suit looks, the darker the season. So here are my recommendations for the best starter seasons. Showa era. In my opinion, you can skip this era, not because it's bad or anything, it's actually very good, but because it's very outdated and episodic and you may not be interested. But still, here are a few seasons that you might enjoy. Kamen Rider Amazon is the shortest Kamen Rider season and it's very gritty, and it's basically about Tarzan taken in by Mayans who perform a ritual on him before they're all killed. We also have Kamen Rider Black, which are about stepbrothers who are kidnapped and operated on. One of them escapes before the brainwashing while the other gets brainwashed and turns into a villain. It's a very drama-focused, interesting season. And it has the sleekest suit designs and it's a pop cultural phenomenon. It has a direct sequel called Kamen Rider Black RX, and this is the only time in Kamen Rider history that this ever happened. Closing off Showa, we have 3 films. You can watch any of it. Kamen Rider Shin is basically body horror Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider Zedo is action focused, and Kamen Rider J has the main Kamen Rider turn into a giant. The Heisei era. The first Kamen Rider from the Heisei era is Kamen Rider Kuga. It is somewhat iconic right now in the present day, but it does have very slow pacing since it has only 1 Kamen Rider throughout the season. And note, after this, every single season has multiple Kamen Riders to this very day. If you want something with more drama and more Kamen Riders, watch the immediate next season called Kamen Rider Agito. It's about a guy with memory loss who for some reason transforms into this mystical Kamen Rider called Kamen Rider Agito to fight these unknown monsters. There are also 2 other riders with their own storylines. If you want something even more darker, you can watch Kamen Rider Ryuki. which is basically a battle royale to get a wish granted with 13 riders in it. And our protagonist is the only one who is actually fighting to protect humans, while everyone else are basically kind of villains or anti-heroes. Or skip to 2007 with Kamen Rider Den-O, one of the most iconic Kamen Riders to ever exist. It's a very light-hearted show with lots of comedy, and the main character, portrayed by Takeru Sato, had to portray multiple personalities via his acting. And he is my favorite Japanese actor. He also played Kenshin in Rurouni Kenshin live-action films from Netflix. 2009 saw Kamen Rider Double, which basically is a detective show, and two people fuse together to become one Kamen Rider. It has some very neat concepts that you are gonna absolutely love. And the villains are one of the greatest villains ever in my opinion. 2011 saw Kamen Rider Forze, which is basically about a high school delinquent that wants to make friends and also transforms into Kamen Rider Forze with a lot of space theme. This has a special place in my heart because this is my first Kamen Rider season and it hooked me in, that made me want to watch every single Kamen Rider season. And I actually did because I'm a madman. 2013 saw Kamen Rider Gaim, which is the Fruit Samurai one that I mentioned earlier. And it is the best Kamen Rider season to this date, and it's agreed upon by most of the fans. It is an absolute must watch. I won't spoil anything about this, but it is really great. It was written by the writer of Fate Zero and Madoka Magica. If you know, you know. My final Heisei recommendation is Kamen Rider Build. It is one of the most popular Kamen Rider seasons, especially in the Western audience. Like astronauts bring a Pandora's box from the moon, it kind of starts an event known as the Skywall Incident, which basically divides Japan into three, both literally and metaphorically. And now they are in a civil war with each other, with the main Kamen Rider's focus being science because he's a scientist. Again, this is a very perfectly written story. Finally, my Reiwa recommendations start with the first Reiwa season, Kamen Rider 01 in 2019. It's basically about AI, but it's handled very well actually. AI is not inherently good or bad. And then there are two AI robots that gain sentience that want to free every other AI from human control and actually eradicate humanity too. 2022 had Kamen Rider Geats, which is basically a battle royale with an armor-forming main character. Most Westerners start with this season and you might see a lots of reaction videos for this particular season. And it is still one of the best Rider seasons ever made as it is very interesting from the start to the end. 2024's Kamen Rider Gav is one of the most recent seasons to ever complete. So if you're into binging Kamen Rider, this is your best starting on point. It is basically about a main character who gains power-ups by eating snacks because it's a snacks themed Kamen Rider. But it surprisingly has one of the most mature storytellings ever, and the villains wanting to turn humans into something called dark treats and getting addicted to it is a huge innuendo for drugs. As I said, the goofier the concept, the darker the season. And finally, the currently running season, Kamen Rider Zets. It's about a guy that can lucid dream, meaning he knows when he's in a dream, transforming into a Kamen Rider and becoming a secret agent, and solving cases in other people's dreams while defeating monsters called nightmares. It is a currently ongoing season right now and it looks pretty interesting, and this is your best jumping on point if you want to watch weekly and start making theories about it. And trust me, it's one of the best experiences you can get in this fandom. There's also the existence of the summer movie and the winter movie. Summer movies are basically the movie adaptation of the current running season, and it's been a tradition ever since 2001's Kamen Rider Agito. The summer movies are mostly non-canon film adaptations. They're not like a recap film. They're mostly films that take the main characters of the running season and put them in situations that we wouldn't see in the actual show. Kind of like the One Piece films. Most of these films are non-canon, but some might be canon, while some of these movies might be alternate endings of the show. Some might just be the sequel film of the entire season. You don't need to watch this film to understand the show, but it's always a great addition. And then there's the winter films, which is basically a crossover between the Kamen Riders and the main characters of the present running season with the main characters of the previous season. It is always very fun to watch these characters talk to each other or interact, and this is one of my favorite projects to ever come out from Kamen Rider, these crossover films. Unfortunately for me, they haven't done a winter film like this in the last 2 years. and that's for many reasons that I don't want to talk about. There's also the superhero Tyson film series, which is basically a crossover between Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, two huge franchises. These films are just fan service heavy with tons of cameos and returning actors. It's always very fun, but this happens very rarely. There are only 6 films in this series, and the most recent one was released in 2021. But to watch these films, you need to be well versed within the Tokyo franchise. But not for me. I watched the first superhero Tyson film for the very first time before I watched anything tokusatsu. I didn't understand anything in that film, but I really loved it. And Forze was in that film, and so I really liked Forze, and I started watching Forze, and here we are. There's also tons of miniseries that take place within these shows. Some are crossovers. Like, for example, there is Girls Remake. This is just a bunch of female Kamen Riders from the franchise's history teaming up together like a team. Or even Kamen Rider Outsiders, which is basically a team of villain Kamen Riders teaming up and aura farming on another villain Kamen Rider. These are all just amazing, fun, cameo type fest that I don't think any other franchise can replicate. What's that? You don't want to watch anything that was made for kids? Then you can watch Kamen Rider Amazons. It is available on Amazon Prime Video, and it's basically a modern day reimagining of Kamen Rider Amazon that I told you about earlier. It has a very dark story, and of course it's R-rated. It talks about cannibalism and other mature stuff. It has 2 seasons, 26 episodes in total, and a sequel film. And trust me, this is one of the best things to come out of Kamen Rider. Or you can watch Kamen Rider Black Sun, which is also a modern day reimagining of Kamen Rider Black. The same stepbrother storyline taken into a different perspective, a more matured one. Topics such as racism, politics, and racism in politics is talked about in this show. It's a one and done season, and it's absolute cinema. What's that? You don't want to watch an actual season of a show and want to watch just movies? Well, you can watch Kamen Rider the First, which is a film adaptation of the very first Kamen Rider season. It has the first 2 riders in a modern day setting with modern sleek suits and amazing action. This film got a direct sequel film called Kamen Rider The Next, which is an adaptation of Kamen Rider V3, the second season of the Kamen Rider franchise, which is also a direct sequel to the first Kamen Rider season. Or you can watch Shin Kamen Rider, which is again a reimagining of the first Kamen Rider season in modern day era. What's special about this is that it was written and directed by Hideaki Anno, who is known for directing movies like Shin Ultraman and Shin Godzilla. He's also the creator of Evangelion, and Shin Kamen Rider is legitimately the best Kamen Rider movie, to many at least. What's that? You don't even want to watch anything Japanese? Well, there are American adaptations. The first one is Masked Rider, which was an American adaptation of Kamen Rider Black. Yeah, this one is not for you guys. This sucks. This is terrible, horrendous. Like seriously, they took a story about stepbrothers being torn apart, a story about grief, pain, and seriousness, and turned it into a sitcom. As if that wasn't enough, everybody's acting was very weird and very downright bad in this season. Fans hated this, even American fans that didn't know anything about Kamen Rider. And then there was this Kamen Rider Ryuki adaptation called Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, because Ryu means dragon and Ki is short for Kishi, which means knight, so Dragon Knight. And this was actually positively received. Fans actually liked it that it got 2 seasons. Wow. And to the next big question, where do I watch this show? Well, it's not legally available in foreign countries other than Japan, except Zets, which is now airing on YouTube. So if you want to watch any Kamen Rider season, you can just ask Google, because Google is everyone's friend. And Kamen Rider fans are pretty chill. They love new people entering the fandom. I know I listed tons of beginner-friendly seasons in this video, but it still barely scratches the surface. There are tons of favorite season videos that I didn't even mention in this video because I didn't think they were beginner-friendly. But who knows? Your taste might be different than mine. And as a friend of mine, Marcosatsu says, your opinion matters more than mine. I mean, Marcosatsu is not really my friend, but I really wish he was. Anyway, enjoy your stay, have fun with the franchise, and I would love to end this video in a sentence that Marcosatsu would never say, and that is watch Kamen Rider Kiva. It's a gothic vampire love triangle story taking place in two different time periods. It's amazing.